Welcome to Brooklane's Facebook Live presentation, Managing Holiday Expectations. I'm Kurt Miller, Director of Public Relations for Brooklane. Today's program focuses on how to better manage the holidays, starting with your expectations and are they realistic? How can you take better care of yourself and gain balance? Thanks for joining us. For more information on future programs, please visit brooklane.org. You will find recordings of our Facebook Live programs on our YouTube channel shortly after they happen, as well as videos on a variety of mental health topics. If you have any questions during the program today, please type them in the comments area and I will relay them to our speaker. The title of today's program is Managing Holiday Expectations. It's presented by Christian Rock. He's a therapist at Brooklane's North Village outpatient office. Christian is a licensed master social worker, and he works with clients dealing with anxiety disorders, depression, substance use, and he's been also working to help people adjust to the stressors related to the pandemic. Christian, we're glad that you can be with us today, and thank you for presenting. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Kurt. Let me pull up my slide presentation here. A bit of Shippensburg University, where I did both my undergrad and grad. During my time there, I had a radio show with my professor where we talked about social justice issues. I graduated summa cum laude, and I was part of an honor roll fraternity. Background about me is I first started in this field working at the Arc of Washington County in children's residential for 4.5 years. During my time there, my title was a life skills mentor. I worked with children and adolescents in both a juvenile delinquent house as well as a house for adolescents with intellectual disabilities, helping them transition into the community, develop independent life skills, and just really have a mentor that they could use while they adjust to the community. I then went to Potomac Case Management Services, where I was a paid intern during my time there. I worked with the Family Strong program. That program was a new one they developed at the time that worked with families that had incarcerated members. Mainly it was a parent or the breadwinner of the family. So it was a lot of providing them with case management services and helping them build resilience as they dealt with having a family member currently in incarceration. I also worked with the juvenile drug court, where I also provided case management services there. And the other program I was with as well was the Day Reporting Center. What that was, it was at the time the state of Maryland's first program that they developed here in Washington County to help battle the opioid epidemic, as well as the high recidivism rate within the state. So what that program was, it was for nonviolent offenders and who usually had substance abuse dependence. And we worked with helping them gradually re-enter the community while building their support systems, as well as addressing their substance use. That way they were less likely to recidivate, but also have more of a more healthy recovery with substance dependence. Right now, as Kurt said, I work at Brooklane Health Services as an outpatient therapist at our North Village office. Common disorders that I work with, like Kurt said, is anxiety, depression, as well as adjustments. I'm starting to see clients for trauma, and also our NSTEP program, which is substance abuse based. So now let's look at talking about the holidays. The holidays can be a very great time for people. We tend to really look forward to this time of year, spending time with family, celebrating, just really ending the year on a good note. There's always themes or common thoughts that we have when we think about the holidays, and I'm sure you all have them. Some common ones that have come to my mind to add in here is family. You know, this is the time of year where we get to see family, hang out with others that we haven't seen in a while. Quite a few articles that I looked at, a lot of people studied, listed family as the top theme that comes to their mind when they think of the holidays. Another is parties. This can be attending parties, hosting parties. Again, it's the end of the year, so there's usually a celebration. You hear about there being house parties, you hear about there being office parties, just a way to end the year on a good note. Decorations, that's another common one. A lot that comes to mind are like decorating Christmas trees, putting up lights, holiday themes. You know, think of movies like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, how big that is in the movie. Gifts is ultimately another, whether that's receiving or giving gifts to other, that's always a big part of the holidays. You know, we see that a lot in commercials and ads right now, getting the best gift, sharing something with others. Snow, that's another one. It's that time of the year where winter kicks in, so we're more likely to have snow. You know, some people think of that white Christmas or whatever they hope for the holidays, but snow is usually involved. Music and movies are another. Some that come to mind are movies like Eight Crazy Nights, A Christmas Story, A Christmas Carol. Again, like I mentioned earlier, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You have a lot of holiday songs. Walking in a Wonderland. Jingle Bells. I know everybody talks about it on social media every year, but that Mariah Carey song, I can't remember the name of it, but another one is Dreaming of a White Christmas. These are all songs that help us look forward to the holidays and put us in a feel-good mood. The other is food. Ultimately, that's another big one. Whether it's your hams, your roast, your pies. For me, it's always been candied yams and my grandmother's buckeyes. Those are the things that I always think of when the holiday season comes up. So I just want to go over these to get you thinking about what kind of thoughts and ideals and things we look forward to during the holidays. So our main focus today is talking about expectations with the holidays. So let's dive into looking what an expectation is. An expectation is defined in the dictionary as something that is a strong belief something will happen or be the case in the future, or a belief that someone will or should achieve something. The good news is we all have expectations. They can be meaningful. They can be motivating. We all use expectations to motivate us. One that I think is a good example is my dream job is to get into mental health policy work at some point in the future. And I think when I was in college for social work, that was a big motivator for me, knowing that that was my end goal and that was something I wanted to do down the road, work in policy for mental health. There are different types of expectations. You have your realistic expectations, which are usually a goal or target that is realistic and one you can sensibly expect to achieve. So think of that right there. Sensibly expect to achieve. An example of this could be with good communication. My partner and I can work out most minor conflicts. You have your unrealistic expectations. These are usually ones that assume a level of control that one does not actually have in a situation. So a common one now with the holidays is, I'm going to have the best holiday ever. Another one is, I'll be happy if I throw the best holiday party ever. So I want you to start thinking about the difference here between unrealistic or unrealistic expectations, also known as hypothetical expectations. Expectations can also be conscious and unconscious, meaning we can either be aware or unaware of these expectations. Unaware expectations can be harder to manage, but I do want to let you know that both conscious and unconscious expectations can lead to stress, which is where I want to go to talking about next, because I strongly believe there is a correlation between expectations and stress levels. So now let's look at stress. Stress is defined by Medicine Plus as a feeling of emotional or physical tension. Like expectations, stress is something we all experience and have. It's our body's reaction to meeting a challenge or having a demand. Um, Nice thing about stress, it can help us avoid danger or meet a deadline. Um, it's a very natural thing for us to experience stress. We all have that fight or flight mentality ingrained in us. That's what helps us battle stress. Whether you fight it or you avoid that stress, you run away from it. So keep that in mind. Stress can be good in some examples. And off of that, stress can be healthy if your stress goes away after the stressor ends. If it doesn't, that's when you start getting into unhealthy stress. So like expectations, there's two different types. You have your acute stress, which goes away quickly. Examples of this can be a fight with a partner, managing a dangerous situation, and or doing something new or exciting. You then have your chronic stress. This happens over long periods of time. This can be money problems, tension at work over time, also being in an unhealthy relationship. Excuse me. The unfortunate thing about chronic stress is that people get so used to this chronic stress that they're not even able to realize that there's a problem for them right now, which is going to be something I come back into with the holiday here and having expectations. Symptoms for stress can usually include nausea. Nausea usually can be in line with anxiety because anxiety can affect our GI tract. So when we get anxious, sometimes we start to feel nauseous and can experience symptoms like dry heaving, just an upset stomach, diarrhea, vomiting. A lot of different things can happen to our GI tract when we're either feeling stressed or anxious. Another is muscle tension. I have a couple clients right now that are battling chronic stress, and I can see them tense up and carry that tension mainly in their shoulders, which is not really a good thing to have 24/7. Another is low energy. You feel fatigued easily, you feel unmotivated. Going with that, insomnia is another, trouble falling asleep, as well as headaches. That is another one. The long-term effects that have been found with stress are obesity, high blood pressure, vulnerability for more mental health issues, including anxiety and depression, as well as sleep trouble. So again, there's a correlation between stress and expectations that can really lead to some unwanted long-term effects for people. So it's good to be mindful of expectations that they don't lead to stress. So now that we've gone to that, let's come back to the holidays. Again, we reviewed how the holidays can be meaningful, exciting, things to look forward to, but at the same time, there can be stressors with anxiety. There's an old saying in the military, in the field manual. It says, if your attack plan's going accordingly, expect a counterattack. And I think we can set ourselves up where we expect everything to go right with the holidays, that we don't realize there can be stress with the holidays. There can be frustration. There can be sudden upsets. So I want to pull back this curtain for you all and just look at some common things that have been reported about the holidays. So the first one is how 45% of Americans would choose to rather skip the holidays than face the stress. So you're hearing almost like half of people that were surveyed feel stressed about the holidays and kind of want to avoid that. 38% of Americans as a whole see the holidays as stressful for them. What I found, I don't want to say alarming, but something to take in mind is that 64% of Americans that already suffer from mental health see an increase in their mental health symptoms during this time, which can be common symptoms such as anxiety, depression, common stress. Poor motivation. This is also the time where people see an increase or be at risk of substance abuse. So keep that in mind as well. Other common causes for why people were 64% see an increase are things like 69% report stress with having a lack of time. 69% also report an unavailability of money. Mental health has found that there's a strong connection between an increase in mental health and being in a low socioeconomic environment. So think about how this could be even exacerbated during the holiday season. You're already in that stress, but now you have this time of the year where there's a lot of expectations, a lot of money being devoted to other things, that it can further put in that stress and high expectations. 51% also report gifts being another stressor for them. I can see that. I'm trying to think about what I want to get my nieces and nephew for the holidays, and that's pretty hard because, to be honest with you, I have no idea what I'm supposed to get a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old and a 6-month-old. So it can be stressful. Now I want to go into common hypothetical expectations that we get during the holidays. One of the main one, like I said earlier, family, we think about that during the expectations. Family itself can bring a lot of different expectations for people. Common one is seeing all of my family during the season. Unfortunately, due to COVID, that can be hard for people. I found that right now we're dealing with concerns over the Omicron variant, but also I found how exacerbated the travel system is going to be this year. I read one article talk about how they're recommending that people buy a ticket for a flight where they want to go, but if anything is to happen where there's a delay or the flight is canceled, they're recommending that people also buy a backup ticket as a reserve just in case. So think about how that can be stressful as a whole, planning out your different flights, but also remember, 69% reported stress with financial concerns. So let's face it, flights aren't always cheap, so that can play into the expectations and stress. Another is sometimes a family can be spread out, so you can't always see everybody at the same time. My family's spread out, so I have family that live down south, I have family that live in DC, I have other family that live in England, so it can be a little unrealistic for everybody to get together at once, because remember, a realistic expectation is one where you can sensibly achieve something, and that can be a little hard, especially with COVID being a factor right now. Another common family expectation is, oh, everybody's going to be excited to see me. Well, not always. I mean, and I'm not saying it's the person's fault, but there could be micro issues going on that could make this more hypothetical than anything else. Stress interference. Just because you're feeling stressed doesn't mean the rest of your family is feeling stressed. Lingering family problems. What I would say in this example, if you're thinking everybody in the family is going to be excited to see you, why not change it to focusing on someone specific that you know is going to be excited to see you for the holidays. Another one is everybody will get along for the holidays. Well, good luck with that. And I don't mean that out of sarcasm. Think about other things we've seen. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I want you to think about a time where everybody in your family did get along. We see that on the commercials, but in reality, that's harder to sensibly achieve. Another one is hosting the perfect party. This can be a real stressor, mainly because I feel the word in there is perfect. That's a very stressful word that I'll get back to here shortly. But, we have thoughts like everybody's going to enjoy this. It will be the talk of the town. I'm going to have the best party ever. I'm going to create good games, great food, drinks, whatever for people to enjoy. You're setting yourself up here for perfectionism by thinking everything is going to be perfect. As a perfectionist myself, I've come to terms realizing that there's no such thing as perfect, which can be hard to accept. In reality, perfectionism is more the top tier of hypotheticals in my mind. You're setting yourself up for a lot of hypothetical expectations with this. Another thing I like to tell my clients when they're engaging in these hypothetical expectations or perfectionist traits is how much perfectionism is considered the highest form of self-abuse. And an analogy I like to give clients is about iron. I can't take credit for this. My buddy shared it with me. I thought it was really good though. In science, you know, iron's a metal that's almost indestructible. There's one thing that can ruin iron, and that's rust. But what creates rust? Iron creates rust. So like with iron creating rust and then destroying itself, a person creating perfectionist thoughts and expectations also sets themselves up with self-abuse. Getting everything done, that's another one. Remember, 69% of people reported that they feel stressed with having little time to do things. So be more realistic with yourself. Be more in control and try to prioritize things. Don't expect that you're going to get everything done at once. Be your best self. That's another hypothetical. Because what is your best self? You can think of things that would make things the best for you, but turning it into an all or nothing doesn't help in that moment. The other one is, another one is getting gifts or receiving the best gift. This is stressful enough, I think. It's another hypothetical because we put too much pressure on having to have the right gift. You know, I think a lot of pleasing goes into this, pleasing others. So common thoughts like they need to have this, I should, you know, give them the best gift for the holidays, the most memorable gift. One that, I'm going to say, getting cool gifts is a really nice thing. I'll never forget when for one holiday, I took a gambit and asked my parents for this very rare CD that I will admit wasn't the cheapest. And I got it. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. But, you know, at the same time, I can't imagine, I've never asked them, but I can't imagine what that stress would have been like for my parents trying to hunt that down and find it. So there's a lot of stress that can be involved in getting or receiving gifts. A friend of mine, she likes to make gifts for others and makes them, and the whole purpose behind making these gifts is that they're meaningful. You know, it's not putting pressure on her to get the best gift, but it's also not putting pressure on the person that they need to receive the best gift. It's more of a meaningful thing. Another one is traditions. There's a lot of traditions that I think families have during the holidays, mainly, excuse me, family photos. And one that I know my sister and my dad used to do is picking a Christmas tree. Over time, they've changed and they're more at risk of becoming hypotheticals due to multiple variables. One reason the Buckeyes is no longer a thing is because over time my grandmother got older and couldn't do it as much. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, so it's no longer a tradition. But you know, just because it doesn't happen doesn't mean you can still continue it some way or find some other way to make it meaningful. Family photos, I think I said earlier that my family is less likely to get together all at once, so that can make a family photo hard. As well as the picking the tree. When my sister has her own family, that's hard for her to take time to pick out a tree with my dad. So keep in mind, when realism falls, there's less chance of something being of you being sensibly able to achieve something. So keep that in mind. Okay. Now I want to go into some ways to manage these expectations for yourself. First are relaxation methods. You know, we say here in therapy, do some deep breathing. I know that can be mundane for people. Well, yeah, I hear that all the time. It doesn't work. Well, to be honest, it does. You know, breathing in through your nose and doing deep breaths through inside your mouth can be very beneficial. Science has found that our brains need more oxygen than what we realize. So when your brain's not getting that oxygen, it starts to get a little stressed, a little anxious, like, oh, I need this now. So taking that deep breath and allowing yourself to get more of that oxygen in and more of that CO2 out can be very helpful. I have my clients practice it in here, and I'll tell you, I'd have a nice bonus if I had $1 for every time a client did it, and they said to me afterwards, I feel tired. Well, that's because you're relaxed now. Another one is meditation. Finding ways to ground yourself, be in the moment, focus on something specific. Don't let your mind wander around with those expectations. Another is progressive muscle relaxation. This is a really cool exercise, I think. Not only does it work with trauma, but it also works with stress, and it's a grounding exercise. What you do in this is that you practice deep breathing, but you also focus on a specific part of your body, and you tense it up for usually anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, or I'm sorry, seconds. So what you do is that when you inhale, you focus on a specific part of your body, tense it up, hold the breath, and then exhale 10 to 15 seconds later. And I usually have my clients do it in descending order, where they start on their face, come down to their neck and shoulders, then go to their arms, their chest, their abdomen, their butt, down to their legs. And it's one that I think is very effective in grounding people. Mindfulness is another. Try to be more aware of the hypotheticals. Know when to let go. That was something I had to do when my grandmother passed away at the Buckeyes. I don't want to make it sound like I was mourning her Buckeyes more. It was just a tradition that the two of us had. And as much as I was mourning her loss, this was something else that I was mourning, the tradition the two of us had together. You can't always recreate memories, but that doesn't mean you can create new ones. Also, accept your needs. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Just because you are going through stress during the holidays doesn't mean other people are. Doesn't mean other people aren't. So put your mental and physical well-being first. Try to know when you're getting stressed. Try to identify what that stress looks like for yourself. For me, I know when I'm getting stressed, I kind of fume, like I do like a snort, like that. So I've known over time that when I'm getting stressed, or when I'm doing that, I'm most likely getting stressed. So that's a good point that I have, where I try to step back and deal with that somehow. Next is reframing thought patterns. Avoid negative thoughts. It's prevalent with stress. There's a good combination between stress, hypothetical expectations, and this all or nothing thinking. Our brains are really good at doing that when we're stressed. Reframing the thought patterns to more positives is very important, because science has found that it takes 25 positives to get rid of one negative thought that you have. So really keep that in mind. You're going to have to really practice that to train yourself out of that negative thinking cycle. Reframe a situation. So if, let's say, you can't travel for the holidays, well, look forward to doing a low stress free holiday celebration at your house, and try to make it meaningful. Find something that you can enjoy or look forward to during that time. I've talked about it, I want to reiterate it again. Try to identify a realistic expectation from a hypothetical expectation. Another is showing gratitude. This can really go a long way, not only for yourself, but for others. So give yourself gratitude. Give others gratitude when you can. Because again, they may be going through some stress or high expectations that you're unaware of. Journal them, because remember what the 25 positives and 1 negatives. I think it's really good to hear yourself saying those positives, but sometimes it can help to also see what you're writing down as a positive. So keep that in mind. That might be something to do. Find support's another. Reach out to family, reach out to friends. therapists, and support groups, anybody that you think will take the time to listen to your concerns and be there for you. Other ones that can be helpful is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, as well as the crisis text line via NAMI. If anybody is interested in those, feel free to let me know and I will share those numbers with you. Also, I would encourage people to, if you are engaging in therapy, keep up with your appointments. This can be a very stressful time with high expectations. Another one is if you're interested in therapy, try it out. If you think this is getting too overwhelming for you, try it out. And also, lastly, healthy habits. This can go a long way. Try to eat as healthy as you can during the holidays. I know there's some pretty good sweets out there that I know I'm looking forward to on the holidays, but in between, try to eat as best as you can, because with healthy food, you're going to get a healthy body and mind. Also, exercise. Walk outside, ride your bike. I know cold weather is around the corner, but try to do anything that's going to be some form of physical activity for yourself, because science has found that daily exercise naturally produces stress relieving hormones, ways to de-stress yourself. I've seen this happen with myself. There was a point about a couple months ago where I was very busy and I wasn't able to do my regular workout routine, and I could notice I was getting stressed, which looked different from usual. So try to keep with a workout or an exercise routine. And lastly, get as much not lastly, but also get as much sleep as you can. With little sleep, you can be at risk of experiencing an increase in mental health symptoms such as anxiety, depression. Another one and two for people that may suffer from bipolar disorder, they're more likely to see an increase in their symptoms or experience an episode of mania. So try to get the best sleep that you can. And lastly, avoid drugs and alcohol. We think in mind that this is going to reduce stress. Well, in reality, it's only going to make it worse. Plus, this is also the time of the year where people report seeing an increase in their alcohol or substance dependence. It's also a time of the year where people are prone to experience relapse, who are in recovery for a while, but may be at risk of having a relapse during this time. So these are some good ways to manage the expectations. Try to keep yourself at ease during this stressful time of the year. And before I end this, I just want to give you all a quote. I'm a huge quote guy, so I just want to share this with you, and hopefully it'll get the brain juice going for you and maybe a motivator for this season. This is from Mahatma Gandhi, and it says, "Distinguish between real needs and artificial wants, and control the latter." So that's all of my presentation. Thanks for attending this, and if any of you have any thoughts or questions, I'm willing to take them.
Hi, Christian, thank you again so very much for doing this. I do have a question for you. Do you have any specific suggestions for people who may be dealing with either grief due to loss related to folks in their lives and the holidays, or possibly even, dealing with issues related to COVID and how it is kind of continually changing things? Maybe I should put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that I wish I was able to touch more on in this presentation. The big thing that I would recommend first is just acknowledge that you have these feelings. Ignoring them and just letting them slide doesn't help. I kind of touched on it earlier, but try to be realistic with yourself and look at what you can and cannot change. Look at how much can you control in this, particularly when it comes to COVID. There's only so much we can do here. With grief, that can be hard for people. I had one client that the holidays were very stressful for her due to experiencing numerous family losses throughout the years all around that time. And one of her losses was a friend who really loved this time of year and was really into decorating her house and all that. So one thing that we looked at doing for her was this was something she never did before. So decorating her house and doing it similar to how her friend did it. I think it really helps to honor the memory of the person, you know, do something that was similar to what you used to do with them or what they would do. I've thought a couple times, I mentioned the Buckeyes, I thought about making those, you know, since this was something that my grandmother used to do. So it's really finding things to do that you can keep that memory alive and feel good, and trying not to dwell on the sadness. It's okay to feel sad, but don't let yourself be consumed by it.
Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Kurt.